Just want to know from a faith perspective, Speaker Johnson, what can you tell our country who's disappointed in this ruling and worried about the future?
Look, I was with some big crowds here in three different cities yesterday in Ohio, and I told them all the same thing. Keep the faith. Look, I'm absolutely convinced. Reagan used to remind us, we are the last best hope of man on the earth. He was quoting Lincoln in that regard. We have the best system, and even though people try to corrupt it, it is worth preserving. And I genuinely believe, Ainsley, that God's going to allow us another chance. We're going to be able to fix this. November 5th cannot get here soon enough, but I'm very bullish on that election cycle. I think the people are going to return us to common sense by putting us back in authority.
We'll finally find out if God's a Democrat or Republican.
This is true.
So wrong.
I heard independent.
So wrong.
We'll find out.
We still have a process.
I don't think he cares about the party, but he does care about the principle.
Why should Representative Johnson's fake faith-based assessment about Trump's criminal conviction matter to Americans? What does God have to do with Donald Trump's crimes? Especially when the proposed faith leader that lives by the word of God worships a felon.
Everybody from around the world to come here, including hardened criminals, So maybe
that was the Spirit of God using Johnson's hand to identify his hardened criminal captor as he breathed down his back. He likes to lean into his faith to ward off any criticism from people that are gullible enough to buy into it, while also flaunting his political positioning so that people respect his fealty to Trump at the same time. As long as people think he's harmless and Christ-like, he's free to do all the same dishonest things other politicians do. He just tries to make it a standard characteristic, like the GOP being the law and order party, for no reason at all.
President Biden and the Biden family. We owe it to the American people to continue this process, but to do it methodically and transparently. Many of you know I'm a lawyer, I'm a constitutional law attorney. I served on President Trump's impeachment defense team twice. And we lamented openly and we decried how the Democrats politicized that process. They were brazenly political in how they brought those meritless impeachment charges against the president. What you're seeing here, is exactly the opposite. We are the rule of law team. The Republican Party stands for the rule of law.
Remember, no matter what you see us do and say, we're the rule of law team. Didn't that propaganda we've been feeding you guys sink in yet? Ignore the fact that we still support a former president that was convicted due to a mountain of evidence against him. We're the rule of law guys. Who cares that he has legal and personal track record of sexual assault, rape, financial corruption, and racism? We're the rule of law guys. It's just lazy politicking. Just supporting horrible things and call it righteous because he called himself Moses.
The Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean, Lord? And then when the speaker's race happened and Kevin McCarthy, who's a dear friend of mine, was deposed, vacated from the chair, oh, wow, well, this is what the Lord may have been preparing us for. And so I started praying more about that, and then the Lord began to wake me up through this 3-week process we're in the middle of the night and to speak to me and to write things down, plans and procedures and ideas on how we could pull the conference together. Now, at the time, I assumed the Lord is going to choose a new Moses, and thank you, the Lord. Lord, you're going to allow me to be Aaron to Moses. And so I worked to get Steve Scalise elected speaker. That didn't happen. And then Jim Jordan, who's like another big brother of mine. No, that didn't happen. And then Tom Emmer, and ultimately 13 people ran for the post. And the Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when it came to the end, the Lord said, now, step forward. Me? I'm supposed to be Aaron. No, the Lord said, step forward.
You can't question me. I'm the modern day Moses, chosen by God to lead this nation to kiss Donald Trump's ass and follow him to consolidate power and terminate the Constitution. And unsurprisingly, Johnson wants you to believe God cares about their double standard argument to deflect attention away from the evidence.
I'm telling you that the people see right through it. I've been all across the country, north, south, east, west. Doesn't matter whether I'm in a blue state or a red state. People are disgusted by this. They see exactly what's happening. Old charges, a tainted judge. I mean, think of it. In the last couple of weeks, they've been apoplectic. They want Justice Alito to be recused from, future cases and proceedings because his wife flew a flag at their house. This judge on this case in Manhattan was an open Biden supporter, an open, activist, a political activist, and no one cared about that. So the double standard is clear. Everybody sees it.
The people that know the game the best can recognize it, but they only really care about calling it out when Johnson steps out of line with any aspect of their hateful agenda. Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene turned on him instantly when he committed the cardinal sin of not only speaking to Democrats, but coming to an agreement to get legislation moving. They have no patience for the Christian shtick when it doesn't serve their needs.
This is Mike Johnson, and don't tell me you're a Christian. I don't want to hear you're a Christian. Don't wear your faith. Don't give me the Bible. I don't hear more Bible verse. When you've allowed the transgender, you've allowed all that garbage, all that demonic trash throughout the defense budget. That you wonder why you can't get kids, red-blooded American boys and girls to get into the military. With what you've done in this neo-Marxism and this cultural rot that now you have taxpayers paying for in almost $1 trillion, and you allowed this to happen when the commitment, if you can't get the majority doesn't go to the floor of the Hassard rule. But you waive that to get this there because you're playing footsie with Mitch McConnell, Schumer, and you're just as bad as the Biden guys because you should know better. So I don't need to hear any more biblical review.